Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Moise in London. And today I'm making a video, an interview video with the academic director for SUSI Comparative Policymaking Program at University of Massachusetts, Civic Initiative. And I have with me Ken today. And we will be talking to him, asking questions about SUSI Exchange Program. What is it? What is the benefit of it? As the most students ask me about, because most of the students know about UGrad program, the undergraduate program, but less students in Pakistan know about SUSI. So I thought I should make a video about it, and Ken agreed. Thank you so much, Ken, for your
You're
time
welcome.
today.
Yep.
So, Ken, if you could just provide me a comprehensive overview of the SUSI Exchange Program, its core objectives, particularly in relation to participants from Pakistan, because we are discussing about Pakistan today.
Sure. So I've been involved in the SUSI program, and just to be clear, SUSI stands for Study of the United States Institutes, and SUSI as a program can involve many different things. There are many other topics that it can focus on different campuses. I'm on the campus of the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, Massachusetts. Our specific SUSI program is the Comparative Public Policy Program for Pakistan college students. So you asked about the core objectives of SUSI, of our SUSI program. So we look at it in two different ways. One is the academic piece, and that's the academic exploration of public policy topics relevant to both the United States and Pakistan. In the recent past, those topics have included food insecurity, human rights, democratic institutions, politics, technology, the environment, many other things that involve the public interest. The second thing that we work with is cultural orientation and exposure to the United States. Now, in the classroom, you may get that exposure through the instructors, through our undergraduate staff that also work closely with the participants, like the mentors, or they're named the mentors, excuse me. But it involves things outside the classroom. And so the University of Massachusetts is located, it's a very large university of about 30,000 students. It's located in a very small town. And so the small town is very close to campus. And so our SUSI participants go to that small town. They go shopping, they go to restaurants, they eat the food, they just walk around and meet Americans. And so that is part of the exposure. Another part of the exposure to American culture are the study tours. And so we take trips from Amherst to, for example, to Boston, Massachusetts, the capital of the state, a large city. We also go to New York City, which is about 3 hours away. And we've also visited other places on the East Coast, including Washington, D.C., and often one or two other localities on the East Coast. And as I mentioned before, we have undergraduate staff called mentors that are really the primary way that our SUSI participants get to know about the United States. They meet people, peers, people of their own age, that helped drive the vans that get them from one place to the next. They live with them in the dorms on the campus. They eat with them. They chit chat with them. And so those mentors are really the primary source of getting that exposure to the United States culture.
Yes, and I remember about the food exchange. I was so excited to eat turkey in US. So
Okay,
that was a good experience.
good.
One of the most important because aspects of SUSI, as we discussed, is cultural exchange. And most of the students ask me, what is cultural exchange? What could we bring to US and what could we get from US? Like they just sort of ask these questions that should they expect and what should they do for cultural exchange?
There's a lot of just conversations that happen. Again, like I said, whether inside the classroom or outside the classroom. I, as an academic director, and sometimes I actually lead classes. Those cultural exchange happens while the class is happening. It happens before class. It happens after class in the hallway. We exchange, phone numbers, or we walk across campus, have a lunch together, and just chit chat about what it's like to live in the United States. And then I have plenty of questions, what it's like to live in Pakistan. And these kinds of conversations happen not only with me, but also with anybody who works in at the University of Massachusetts, specifically the Civic Initiative, which is the program that runs SUSI. And what the Pakistani participants bring with them is this incredible curiosity about the United States. They're also quite proud of many things about their own culture, and they'll share those with us. It could be they could be dressed a certain way, and we ask them, well, tell me about your shalwar kameez. Tell us about your traditional dress. And these just sort of start the conversations many times, and those conversations just lead to other places. But again, it's a lot of time that we have to just get to know each other. And these things kind of take care of themselves. There's a natural curiosity on our side as Americans about Pakistan, and the curiosity is shared by Pakistanis to America.
Yeah, I believe the same, that talking to one another is the biggest form of cultural exchange, because when you talk, you share experiences, and humans are full of experiences. I think knowing experiences, getting to know each other's experiences is the biggest cultural exchange.
Yes.
If you talk about now the academic side of SUSI, most of the students who are from technical backgrounds, like who are not from social sciences, who have not studied public policy, who are from like IT, medical backgrounds, engineering backgrounds, they ask the questions to me sometimes, that is having expertise in public policy essential for SUSI program, or they could just be passionate about it and they could be learning about it and reflecting in the performance?
Well, I think through the application process that they go through the embassy, the American embassy in Islamabad, they've shown an interest or a curiosity about public policy. But what's interesting is year in and year out, the students that actually make it to University of Massachusetts, we have groups of about 20 students that come every year. One or two are actually formally studying public policy. We just don't have a lot of public policy students here. What we have are students that are from a variety of backgrounds, and that can include medicine. In fact, medicine seems quite popular. We always have 3 or 4 people who are studying to become doctors, medical doctors. But we have liberal arts, we have engineering, we have IT, business, all sorts of disciplines, and that I think is done on purpose by the embassy when they oversee the application process, because we have a classroom every year of people from multiple backgrounds that bring different perspectives. We don't spend a lot of time talking about tech or about engineering or about English literature, for example. We're talking about policy, and it's become very easy for those students to understand the level that we want to engage with them. And everybody has an opinion, everybody has an experience, and the participants that come to us are very well read in general, are up to date on the news, and have opinions and ideas about not only Pakistani public policy, but certainly American public policy. So it can be a really fun engagement, because people will talk about their specific fields and relate it back to public policy. And 19 other people in the room, including me, don't know a whole lot about IT, for example, or AI policy, for example.
Yeah.
And we all learn something from that one person who brings that perspective into the classroom.
Yes, I agree to that, because the way I address this question to students, I just say that you could be synthesizing public policy with your field. If someone is from medical background, they could be focusing on policies for patients, medicine, like that.
Mm-hmm.
If they are from a teaching side, like myself, I was from English literature. I was able to synthesize public policy and teaching together and make policies for education. And when I'm doing my master's right now in education, that public policy experience has really helped me, because my current research was on public policy and practice, the gaps between policy and practice, and how those
Okay.
gaps could be addressed. And that public policy experience really helped me. So from my experience, I tell the students they could be synthesizing public policy, that experience of SUSI, into their own fields, and they could be pursuing it further.
Yeah, I go back to the example of our doctors. Our doctors are studying, medicine students. They many of them often have a public health perspective, and public health deals with a lot more with policy than the actual hands-on practice of medicine. And so they bring more of a global, or at least a policy perspective into the classroom, which isn't necessarily, it's really can be a lot different than what they would do with a patient, for example, the attention or the details that they would apply to an interaction with a patient, but more about public health, disease prevention, all sorts of things. We actually had a veterinary medicine student, and that person was this last summer, and they were primarily concerned about the transmission of diseases between animals and humans. So that's a public health concern just as much as any sort of human medicine person would be. So it really is. Each year is different because each room of students that we bring in each year for SUSI brings a different combination of all these different interests.
Sorry, that was some issue with the internet. I don't know. It got
Okay.
disconnected. Yeah, we are living in 21st century, but the internet issues still exist.
Yeah. Should I keep going?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So we put them in lots of situations where they wouldn't necessarily find themselves in, and so that includes being pretending to be political candidates. We also put them into volunteering positions in the community service, for lack of a better word, helping in helping local organizations that deal with food insecurity, local organizations that deal with environmental protection. We want them to think more globally. We want them to think about, put them in situations where they take into account other things going on in the world. We want them to have, I keep using the word global, but it's less global and more, I should say, universal.
Yeah,
These universal ideas of what's in the public interest and the public good.
yeah, I agree to that. One mystery question, or I could say a mystery recipe that everyone asks me, that what is the criteria? What is the requirement of SUSI program? How could we get selected? What extraordinary skills could we show? What extraordinary performance we could reflect in our applications, SOPs, and questions that we could get selected? So that mystery recipe is, or the mystery question is always unresolved. So if you could put some light on that.
Yeah, that's a question I get myself quite a bit. Not from SUSI participants because they've obviously been selected for the program, but I get questions from their friends or from my other friends that I meet through Pakistan, who want to know this recipe, as you call it. And the unfortunate answer that I can only give them is I don't know, because we at the University of Massachusetts, we have no role in the application process. We don't choose the students. We don't set the requirements. We don't set the process of applying. What I only see in person are the people who successfully applied.
Yeah.
So I can only speak to what I see with those people. I do see their applications after they've been accepted to the program. I read them because I want to get to know them a little better,
Yeah.
before I meet them. And I will say, as the only thing that I've seen as a common thread, no matter what they study, I noticed that successful participants have been doing community service, have been doing volunteering in their own communities, and not just in the last few months, but they've actually committed themselves to particular, one or two particular um, causes in
Yeah,
their community, whether it has to be related, whether it's related to what they study or not. It doesn't. I don't think it necessarily matters.
yeah.
So I do see that as a common thread. So I would then guess that that would be a pretty important thing that the embassy looks at when they're evaluating applications.
So it could be said that you have no hands in it. The students should be referring to the embassy website or the website of exchanges
Yes.
program. They could get information from that. They could infer, they could understand what is the criteria. But since you have no hands in it, you could you could not be addressing that. So I'll share the link with the students as well in the caption as well and in the description as well. Unfortunately, I'm unable to share the screen for the website, but I'll put it in description, and everyone who wants to apply in this program could go to the website of exchanges program, look for all the programs, understand what are the criteria, and then they could prepare themselves for that.
Yeah, and I've mentioned the embassy many times, and the embassy does eventually get these applications, but the website that you're going to share is actually it's an exchange program site for the U.S. Department of State, and those applications go from that website, and they get directed to the embassy for the actual review.
Yes, so I will share that and everyone can go and look for the program. One question is
Great.
that since US and Pakistan are two different countries and two different continents, so how does SUSI aims to foster a mutual understanding between US and Pakistan? Like what are the tangible outcomes to achieve?
Um, as I hinted at before, and this is going to sound strange, and this is always it's an interesting thing that we bring up to our participants every year when we first meet them. And this is something that our program director, Becky, says to them, and that is, we are here to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah,
We are here to expose you to things that you can never possibly guess that you're going to be exposed to. We don't do it to scare you. This is not what I'm talking about. We do things that will make you feel like you're not sure what is the purpose of this? Why are we doing this? What's why I thought this was going to be something different. But it's whether we're in the campus or on campus or in the classroom or in the community, we make it a point to get you into spaces talking about things, thinking about things, seeing things that you would never have experienced before. And by saying that we want to make you uncomfortable, we want you to put you into moments and situations that are rich with the potential of learning something new. And what that ends up in many, many cases ends up being not only factual knowledge, things that you didn't know before, but what it really ends up being for many people, if not everyone, is they learn more about themselves.
yeah,
They learn to rely on themselves. They learn to expand their minds, to expand their abilities, to even see, if not learn a new ability, they see themselves as being potential, that the potential is there for them to do so much more in the future as they continue through not only their undergraduate or their college or their graduate lives, but also through their personal lives. What's possible for them? And this may not mean that they, just because they learn something about the American culture, they're going to somehow take that piece of American culture and bring it back to Pakistan. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. It does happen, but it doesn't, not necessarily what I'm saying. This is more of a global thing. It isn't about America. It's not about Pakistan. It's about
universal thing.
realizing that
Yeah,
yeah, it's a universal thing about kind of human potential, their own human potential. And another thing that related to it, but also different, is that the more time that we spend together with them, with the participants from Pakistan, the more we all realize we are so alike.
Yeah.
We grow up in different places. We speak different languages. We look different. And as an example, I am much older than our participants. That doesn't matter when we all
Yeah.
get in the same room. We are so similar. And for those people on our side, the Americans that haven't necessarily spent a lot of time with folks from Pakistan, they are so surprised. They're surprised about how similar it is. The different ideas, the same ideas, the same aspirations, the same challenges. It's really wonderful to see that recognition of this similarity between the two countries. So
Yeah.
that is it's a soft skill. It's not something that I could necessarily, we don't hold a class on that particularly, but it's something that does accumulate over the time that they're with us for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yes, definitely. Because when we talk about SUSI and the students compare SUSI with the Global Undergraduate Program, UGrad, I mentioned to them that UGrad is a 6-month program, so it is less extensive. That is more academic as well. There are academic activities as well, but because it's expanded for a duration of 6 months, so you have less burden. You are doing your academic side,
Mm.
but you are traveling as well. SUSI, because it's only 6 weeks and it is extensively academic, so there will be more work to do. You might get less time to sleep, you might get less time to travel, but the thing is, it depends on how you manage your time. Like the classes usually end by 6 or 7 sometimes. So then you could be going out and enjoying. Like we used to go in Amherst until midnight to explore after the classes, just to explore the town and other stuff. So it also gets the students out of the comfort zone and they manage their time. They schedule their activities for the day. Like we used to schedule the next day's activity one day before because we already used to get the timetable. So it's all time management, and SUSI really helps the students with that, becoming extensively academic and then maintaining their personal life as well.
Yeah, and this reminds me as you're talking about this reminds me of the time that you were with us, the summer of 2022. We took a bus from Amherst to Boston. It's about a 2-hour long bus ride, and during the bus ride, we were talking about the things that we could do in Boston,
Yeah,
the different options, the different things to see. And I recall you with 3 or 4 other people basically jumped off that bus, checked into your hotel room, and then immediately went out to a boat to take a
yeah,
cruise in Boston. And
yeah.
then you shared pictures with us, and we're all like, how did they do that? They must have ran, from the hotel because you used your time very wisely. And I think maybe some people did it the next day, but you may have been the only people that actually did that cruise, because you just got focused and dedicated and you did it. And so that is a perfect example of using your time really well. Now this summer, we actually made a point to bring everybody with us on that boat tour. So everybody went on that boat tour this summer, because it obviously was a wonderful time and a great use of time to be able to see the city. And then while people were on the boat, they're planning their next moves. Where are we going to go to
Yeah,
dinner? What are we going to do tomorrow? So they realize at some point they realize that, yeah, you really need to be thinking ahead. And sort of as a joke, but not really, we're kind of serious when we say it. We say sleep is not your best option while you're here.
yeah,
Sleep when you get back home to Pakistan. You have so much to do and so much to experience, even if that means just sitting in your dorm room talking to one of your American mentors or the other participants in your program. Um, Now, I should say this really quickly. One of the benefits and one of the cultural exchange benefits that we never talk about and we never promote this is that this group of 20 participants are from every province of Pakistan. And every single year, we have people from one part of Pakistan that ended up becoming best friends with somebody from another part of Pakistan. And why is that significant? Because they both say, I have never known somebody from that part of Pakistan before. I had no idea. And now we're great friends, and now we're going to visit each other. And I had no plans traveling from my home in this part to go see my friend in this part. So those bonds are those bonds are amazing. And it's just kind of funny to say it took a trip halfway across the world, the United States, for you to make this connection with somebody in your own country. But it happens every single year.
Yeah. It not only connects US and Pakistan, but it connects Pakistan itself, the people from Pakistan, different provinces and different cultures itself, because Pakistan is a multicultural country. There's many cultures, many languages, different food. So it also helps the students to understand their own country as well.
Yep. That's absolutely true.
One question that students sometimes ask me is that what support and resources are provided in the SUSI exchange program that they could be reading, understanding about public policy if they are not from public policy background, but they're so passionate about it and they want to understand it. Like I remember we were given resources and we had a online dashboard where we used to go and read about leadership, mass incarceration, and other topics. So what are the resources provided?
So like, as you mentioned, the dashboard, we have a website that provides brief overviews of each session as we have them. We typically have, during the weekdays, we have 2 sessions, sometimes one in the evening, but it's usually a morning session and an afternoon session. And so the participants will know ahead of time, several days ahead of time, what is going to happen on a particular day. We give overviews of the speaker. The speakers can be people who are professors from the University of Massachusetts. They can also be local people. They can be professors from different colleges. They can be practitioners. And so the participants know a little bit about what we're going to talk about. They know the backgrounds of the speakers. And the speakers are always available after class, and there's typically a small or large crowd around the speaker when the class ends to ask them, for people to ask more specific questions to them. There's a little bit of a pre-departure orientation, I believe, that happens in Islamabad that may be more focused on logistics, maybe less on public policy, but we do give them readings. We don't make them read a ton of books or anything like that. We give them short readings and specific to particular topics that we'd like them to do before class. And so many people are able to do that and have a context before they step into a classroom about a brand new topic like mass incarceration or journalism in the United States or something like that, because our speakers are going to focus on that. And I want to make it clear that if we have a student that is having trouble, if they're having trouble keeping up, if they're having trouble understanding, or just the structure of the program is being too big of a challenge to them, we make it very clear to them that on the first day that they're here is that we are here to help them. We are here to support them. We're not here to grade them. We're not here to judge them. We're here to find a solution for them. We are all about supporting them. All the staff of the UMass Civic Initiative want to be approachable and want to be supportive of everybody in the program. And so while we do have a pretty rigorous and pretty scheduled time while they're here, there is opportunity to step aside, to step away one-on-one, and to try to figure out how we can best solve whatever problem is going on with that particular participant. So, and we want to make that very open. It's not just about academic stuff. It can be about personal stuff too. Every single year we help people who are having trouble, whatever that is. I'm not going to go into details, but trouble, whatever it is, and support them.
Definitely, yeah. Because we were supported all the time. I remember I was asking many questions, and Mike used to say that his conversation cup is always full, because I used to ask many questions because I was so curious about that, about every topic.
Yeah.
So I remember that compliment as well.
Yeah. I love the conversations once class is over, the time is up, and I just sort of hang out in front of the classroom. I just stay in the classroom, and it's always fun to have those conversations come up, and people will sometimes ask me something about what we just talked about in class, but most of the time it's not. It's, hey, Ken, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Or,
Yeah,
have you ever been to Pakistan? Or
yeah,
do you know this thing? Or, do you speak, or things like this? And these are where the fun conversations happen. I always allow myself enough time to be able to have all those conversations, to be able to walk very slowly from the
yeah,
classroom back to the place where people eat, or back to the dorms, to have these kinds of conversations that I think are the ones where I end up building the friendships and building the relationships with our participants.
yeah, definitely. I have two more questions, but I think
Mhm.
in our discussions, they were already addressed. So I want to make the interview longer, asking those questions, because we've already discussed how can SOSI help the participants in their professional life or in their personal life. So we have been discussing these questions. Any suggestion, any point, any words you want to say to the participants who are applying next year, like who will be applying this year by the end of this year for next year's program?
I think the biggest piece of advice I could give to people who are applying to the program, that, yeah, like you're right, you're saying that the applications that would come out, and they typically come out, the application window opens in the fall, and this would be the applying for the 2024 SUSI programs, whether it be
Yeah,
our public policy program. Um, there's a separate SUSI journalism program. There's a separate SUSI, I think, um, religious freedom, I think, program.
yeah,
There's several others that are hosted on different campuses across the United States. Um, the biggest piece of advice I can give is to talk to people who've been in the SUSI program. If you have concerns about about your application, um, those people, and often there are videos like the one we're making right now, where former SUSI participants will get together and talk, and do a live video, or do a recorded video, and talk
yeah,
about their experiences and how they manage the application
yeah,
process. Um, that's the best piece of advice I could give. And one last thing that's not related to that, but I just wanted to make pretty clear: once our SUSI participants leave the University of Massachusetts, and once they leave the United States, when they get on the plane, typically in Washington D.C., and they go back home to Pakistan,
hmm,
we stay in touch with them.
yeah,
Just because they're no longer here in the United States doesn't mean that we don't continue to support them.
yeah,
We want to know how they're doing, how successful they're doing, or if they're struggling, for that matter. We do send formal surveys where we get their opinions, and we record their opinions down. But I keep in touch with just about everybody from this last summer. I keep in touch with many of the people, the majority
yeah,
of the people that were in your cohort, Abdul Maiz.
yeah,
So it's just a constant check-in. And we have large WhatsApp groups of people, of our cohorts, and we post things in there that are serious, and some things that are silly, and pictures from a year ago, and just nostalgia, that kinds of thing. So um, our support doesn't really end,
yeah.
once they've left the United States.
Yes, because we have been in constant, you could say, communication on the WhatsApp group. Everybody's sharing our lives and telling the experiences. Like our last director, Mike, retired, and Becky is the new director. So it was it was
Yeah.
really, you could say, a very good experience, but learning under their support. So yeah, we are in constant connection, and that's the most important thing. Uh,
Yeah, and just, you've mentioned Mike and Becky. Becky's our current director. Mike was the director of the Civic Initiative for many years, for about 20
yeah.
years. He retired. We're actually having his retirement party in 2 days in
Oh,
Amherst,
that's great.
at the Monkey Bar, of
Oh,
course.
nice.
So I'll be sharing photos of the party with our cohorts, so they can all see us celebrating Mike.
Yeah. Hope you have fun. I will stop the recording here and then we could discuss. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And I will share the link or anything any other resource, any other link you want me to share or put in the description, you could share with me. I'll put in the description. Like one is
Okay.
I'll also share the Civic Initiative's Facebook page and Instagram page as well. In the description, I will share the website link so that anyone who is confused about this program could refer to that.
Okay. Yep, that sounds good. I think, our social media links are on there as well. That's where you're going to find all the current photos and the current activities that we do will be on social media, more so than the website.
Yes. And thank you so much for your time and guiding the students who want to apply next year, because everybody's so excited these days about SUSI and UGrad. More about SUSI now because they have now got to understand what is SUSI and everybody wants to apply in that.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk about it. I really enjoy sharing all the experiences of SUSI. It's one of my favorite parts of my job.
You're welcome. I'll just stop the meeting here.